Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. Lilliput at Coon Rapids dares you to take part in their haunted mansion escape room. 100 years ago, a family suffered a tragic incident. Your team is brought in to find out what happened that night, find proof of the supernatural, and help the spirits find peace. Are you up for the task? This incredible escape room is filling up fast, so book now. Also, a perfect outing for work team building. Go to lilliput.net now to book your experience today.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 20. Then Wednesday, a chance of snow with a high of 30. Celebrate the holidays with a delicious meal from an Eat Local Minnesota restaurant. They're perfect for date nights, family nights, and work gatherings this holiday season. Visit the list of Eat Local Minnesota restaurants at eatlocalminnesota.com. That's eatlocalminnesota.com. Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us, share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us as we get closer to Thanksgiving. Do you have your turkey? That's the only thing I want to know. Actually, I don't need to know that, but I hope you do. I hope you have whatever it is that you are going to do for your perfect holiday dinner, whatever that looks like, whether it looks like that at all, or you're just going to have frozen pizza and you're fine with it. I hope it turns out fantastic. That's all I'm going to say about that. As we get into the week here, I'm just excited because I'm going to have on one of my favorite people. We had C.L. Thomas on a little while ago. Actually, it's been, I think, over a year. We had her on talking about her book, Dancing with Demons, and it's quite the book, and we're going to maybe touch on that a little bit tonight, but we have another reason to have her on, and we're going to get to that in a second here. For those of you who may not remember CL, because it's been so long ago, or you haven't had the opportunity to listen to her amazing podcast, CL Thomas was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. After graduating from Belmont University, she moved to Nashville in pursuit of a career in communications and photojournalism, where she lived for 15 years. CL travels widely as a fine arts photographer and writer, exploring various afterlife research, OBEs, metaphysics, folklore, and paranormal events and groups. She is a producer and host of Small Town Tales podcast and the Gateway Radio Show on Public United Radio Network, an established content writer for entertainment and author. Her works include Speaking to Shadows, and as we mentioned, Dancing with Demons. C.L. Thomas is also a spirit artist, which is what we're going to really talk about tonight, who does sittings on request. She currently resides in Las Vegas, Nevada, with her beloved golden retriever and Maine Coon cat. C.L. Thomas, welcome to GhostBox Radio.
Hi, Greg. Thank you for having me back on.
Oh my gosh, and I'm sure we did this the last time you're on. We had to talk about cats here for a little bit because and I love dogs, don't get me wrong. But for years I thought I had a Maine Coon cat. We had one named Dave, and it turned out, and same with my current cat Linus, which we thought was Maine Coon, we being the royal me, I guess. Until someone looked at pictures of Linus, and they're like, that's not a Maine Coon, that's a ragdoll. And are you familiar with a ragdoll cat?
I am. And it's funny you mention that because the vet actually suggested that my Loki cat may be a ragdoll as well.
Interesting, because once he said that, I was just like, nope, Linus is definitely a ragdoll, 100%. And that's because as you know, because you have a Maine Coon, and the Maine Coons have those. They're beautiful, and they're also almost more lion-like than a ragdoll. Ragdoll is just kind of puffy and stocky, and has kind of a different kind of cute face than a Maine Coon cute face. But not they're big, but not nearly the size of a Maine Coon either. So I don't know. I mean, it's just obviously could be a stuffed animal. I'd still love him. You know what I mean? But it's just really like, all right, there we go. So yeah, I love it. And my cat is also polydactyl, so has the thumbs. And I don't know if that's a regular thing on ragdolls and Maine Coons. Does your cat have
Yeah,
Yep.
he's got the 6 toe. It's a they call him the Hemingway. The Hemingway
Yes,
cats.
that's right, they do. And there's something really I just love them. And I don't know if we talked, because I was fortunate enough to be last week's guest on CL's program, the Gateway podcast, Gateway radio show. And I don't know if I mentioned to you that my cat Linus has lost probably literally about 60% of his body weight. He's much older now, and he is very he's and it's just, I mean, doesn't look like he's in any pain or anything, but it's one of those things that you just monitor, and you're just like, oh my God. It's too bad. You got people in the comments already, and for those of you who are listening on the radio, you can stop on over on Facebook at GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. You can join in the conversation that way. Michelle says CL is awesome.
I
Michelle,
love Michelle.
Michelle, so is Greg. Just let's just be clear about things here. And I got to ask before we get into it, if you listen to the weather before the program, it said that like the high tomorrow is going to be 20. Would that fill you with fear living out in Las Vegas?
Yeah, we don't see those kind of temperatures unless it's very rare, and it's only at nighttime. So during the day, it's still getting into 70s. And Michelle's up in Reno, so it's probably different for her. But down here in the valley area, we're right we're in the Mojave Desert.
Yeah.
It's still getting 70s, 80s during the day, but at nighttime is when it's starting to drop. So we're seeing 40, 30-degree drops pretty quickly at night. So it's getting down in the 40s, 50s era. So it kind of makes it dangerous to hike around here because you get sweaty, and then if you stay out, you can get hypothermia at night.
Because those are extreme temperatures, right? And that it switches fairly quickly out there as well, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but as soon as that sun sets, it starts to drop pretty quick.
That's yeah, you got to be careful of that. Now, one of the things that we want to talk about tonight, and I always find very exciting, and I find truly a wonderful sort of a gift here. Let's talk about you being a spirit artist, and let's just start for those who don't know. What is a spirit artist?
So there's different ideas out there of spirit art. You have spirit artists out there right now who they'll sit down and do a reading, and they'll sketch out what a spirit appears to them. And it can be very abstract. They'll draw like Native Americans and chiefs and say that that's their spirit guides. You'll get like a lot of angels, that sort of thing. That's kind of not what I do. So for me, it's more of a mediumship reading, but it's in drawing, because the way I see spirit, it's very visual. So it's easier for me to sit down and sketch what I'm seeing, what spirit's showing to me. So it's very evidential. A lot of times I can actually draw the spirit of somebody's loved one that's passed on. and then I'll get a lot of symbolism with it as well.
So does that start with somebody asking for something more general of a reading, or do you need to actually like ask for like a question, and that's what you start forming for your art?
So for me, no, I don't allow anybody to say anything.
Okay.
So when you do a reading, what I do is I'll sit with them for about maybe 20 minutes, and I'll just let spirit come. I don't want the person to tell me who they are, no names, nothing. They're not allowed to say anything to me or ask any questions. Once I get everything out, then they can ask me questions, and then I'll tell them what I get and if anything resonates with them or not. So it's kind of different in that I'm not doing tarot readings. I don't allow the client to ask me questions until I'm done picking up whatever it is I pick up, what spirit shows me, and then I move forward from there, so that there's no interference or no, you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. That they're not leading you in any way. And you know, I like that, because I mean, I think we've all done these things long enough. These things meaning like some of our like fairs and shows and stuff like that. And you have these you know, you get some, and they're few and far between, I think, of like mediums that they're asking questions that you're just kind of like, these aren't questions that's really going to help me get to where I want to go. These are questions so you can try to show that you are legit, I think. And when you're not leading, like you're saying, that makes a huge difference. And I think that really brings a lot of confidence to for the people who are getting the readings from you.
Yeah, it's kind of different the way I was trained to do it. I went through an entire couple of courses with the Spiritualist Church to learn how to do this and kind of fine tune what it is that I wanted to do. And it's very different than being psychic. Like, I don't tell people's future. I can't tell you if your boyfriend's cheating on you. That's not what I do. What I do is I pick up on the spirits around you and convey that message that I get from the spirit world through photos or through pictures, if that makes sense.
So when spirit's talking to you, they're flashing pictures to you,
Yeah.
and you're translating that into the art.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's incredible. And how long have you been doing it that way? I mean, and I guess the double part question, CL, is like, how long you've been doing that way, and when, you know, at what stage did you realize what this was, I guess, in terms of something being quite unique?
So, you know, it's very interesting how it happened. So I started doing paranormal investigations and things like that just a couple years ago. I've always seen spirits though since I was a little girl. But you know, I always hear mediums talk about spirit tells them this, they tell them that, this message, that message, and a lot of times that's not how I'm receiving those messages. I'm actually seeing the visuals of what's happening. I tried to explain that to somebody in the Spiritualist Church, and they right away said, "You're a spirit artist. That's what this is." And then I'm also a painter. I've always been an artist my whole life. And so put two and two together, that's how this all started. So I started taking some classes with a very well-known spirit artist, Joseph Schull, who kind of taken me in a little bit. And it really fine-tuned what it is I want to do. There's not too many people that are able to do this. And if they do this, they're doing, like I said, abstract, non-evidential stuff to where it's like they're picking up on spirit guides or something like that. There's no evidential side to it.
What I think is beautiful about this, and I do mean beautiful, is that it's been very clear in your bio and everything about you that art is very important, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that as it happens, you are able to pick up this gift from spirit, and then from there use art to be able to explain it to someone, to show them. And that synchronicity there, I think is absolutely fantastic, because to me that tells me in my mind that this is, and I use the word divine, and I don't mean it in a godly sense, but I mean more of like a parochial sort of like, this was meant to be for you, because that has always been your life, is art.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, and I'm definitely, I feel that this is the direction for me to go. Like, I've always loved the paranormal, but now that I've been in that culture, spirit world has really brought forward to me that I have this ability. And now it's kind of like they're saying, okay, this is the, we've woken you up. This is the direction we want you to go. And that's kind of where I'm heading into now.
It's great. And, I have to ask, and we're going to head to break here in a little bit here, but I have to ask because, and only speaking for myself, and I don't hold the, at least yet, the mediumship that you're able to do. But for me, once I realized that I'm heading more in that direction, my approach to what I think paranormal is, what I think how I want to either investigate or interact with spirits, completely changed. And I'm wondering if you felt that as well.
Absolutely. On so many different levels. I've actually started to pull back from a lot of the paranormal events and paracons and heading into a different direction with the metaphysical world, with spirit art and spirit communication, because I feel like I want to help people heal. And that's kind of the point for me, is spiritual growth and healing. And I'm not really seeing that in the paranormal world.
It's interesting because, I find that very similar to my experience in the sense that, I don't want to go. And for people who do it this way, I'm not saying that you're wrong or that you're horrible people or anything like that. All I'm saying though is when my purpose is to help people, and my purpose is I for those who want to go to the scary places and investigate, you're more than welcome to do so. My reliance on equipment has backed away quite a bit. I still do spirit box. That's actually connected to me in a very deep sort of way, but everything else, it's just, they're nice to have, but it's a very different sort of thing. Do you find that as well?
I do. And, I loved it. I just had a show actually about paranormal equipment. There's some builders that were on the show. I feel like the equipment is very important in that, especially if you're just starting out as a medium or as anybody communicating with spirit, you want to get that validation. And for me, it was, definite validation to be able to pick up something with myself and then get an EVP of a male figure or whatever it is that I was picking up on, whether it be, a spirit box or a camera, whatever it is, that validation is important.
It really is. I would agree with that 100%. I find for myself, apart from spirit box, so it's like I used to go to locations with these big bags of stuff, right? And now I show up there with this little like lunchbox of just of a few things. And when I see people show up with all this stuff, I'm in amazement. And I don't mean that. I don't think less of anyone for doing that. I think it's fantastic because there's some really good stuff out there. I just think to myself though that I've gone down that route, but for me, and I think you and I might have talked about this
we did
before, that everything you bring, especially if it records, you have to listen to it.
Hours and hours of it.
You have to listen to it. You have to watch it. Yeah. And you're looking at, at least double the time of recording. So, to each their own. CL, why don't we do this? Let's go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, I want to talk about the art itself and the stuff that you've put together, that you've shared with other people, their reaction, everything else. There's a lot to get through. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with MetamorphosisConnections.com. MetamorphosisConnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search MetamorphosisConnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on metamorphosisconnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting metamorphosisconnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's metamorphosisconnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
Lilliput in Coon Rapids dares you to take part in their Haunted Mansion escape room. 100 years ago, a family suffered a tragic incident. Your team is brought in to find out what happened that night, find proof of the supernatural, and help the spirits find peace. Are you up for the task? This incredible escape room is filling up fast, so book now. Also, a perfect outing for work team building. Go to lilliput.net now to book your experience today. Greg Bakun here. Like many of you, I still collect physical books, and not just any books, but books about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. I go to Megas Books and Herbs, located in the Arts District of Minneapolis, but books are only part of it. Megas Books and Herbs offers crystals, jewelry, herbs, oils, and consultations on how to use this stuff. Check out their in-store classes and events too. This place has everything to expand your horizons. Located at 1848 Central Avenue, Minneapolis, or visit megasbooks.com.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. Recently, I had a large order of custom designed t-shirts that needed to be turned around in a hurry. I knew exactly who to call. Grady Gear Company. Grady Gear Company is a local company that handles large and small custom clothing and apparel orders. I had a lot of questions from color, shirt quality, and what sizes we needed. Grady Gear Company was great to work with. They got us what we needed on time, and now everybody's looking great around the station in their new gear. Start your order at GradyGearCo.com.
Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville. And welcome back to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us as we are getting closer and closer to Thanksgiving. And we have with us tonight, I'm very excited. We have spirit artist, but also host of the Gateway podcast, C.L. Thomas, and also author. You do a lot of things, and you do it very well. We want to talk a little bit more about the art itself. And what I was thinking about this, when spirit is talking to you, when spirit is showing you what you need to convey to somebody through art, do they show you the style they want to do it, or is the style up to you?
So normally the style is mine. So, if you look at my work, you can usually tell my work right away. Like a lot of people who have known me a long time, they say that all the time. I've had galleries and all sorts of things throughout my life. And every time I put a piece out, they're like, oh, that's one of CL's work. We know where that comes from. So I have a very unique style anyway that a lot of people know. And I just tie that in with what spirit shows me, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean, and I mean, all artists, they have their own style overall, right? I mean, they and it's like a signature. Like you can see something now behind you, your background, because I know that's on your website. What are we looking at in your background?
So that's actually a photo that I've taken, and there's an art installation way out in the middle of the desert outside of Rhyolite. And it's kind of a controversial piece right now because the artist built it right over an archaeological site that belongs, that has a lot of miners and stuff. There's a lot of artifacts and stuff. So it's under dispute right now with the state and BML and all that. But an artist went out there, and all that is, it's stucco material. that they built over like old metal screening. So that's what that is.
It's really cool, actually. It's very, very cool. Next, and so I'm over, folks. If you want to know, you got to go over to her website, clthomas.org, and I'm over in Gallery Ghosts. And if I'm looking at that photograph is on there, and then right next to it is a very similar painting, though, that you had done. Is that a painted version of it? There's no bike, though. Do you know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's a painting that I've done, and it's called Ethereal, and it's just my version of what I was looking at, my depiction of these spirits. It's like a spirit of the miners out in the desert, and it's not just the miners, but a lot of different people who have traveled down that road. It's actually the old Spanish Trail. So if you picture if you see like the line of people, the line of spirits moving up over the mountain, that's what they're doing.
Okay.
It's kind of conveying all the spirits that went over that trail. And it's just like life, right? We're all kind of traveling the same route through life.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that a lot. And once again, folks, you got to go over to clthomas.org and check out everything on there, and including the gallery here. And I'm an amateur photographer, and very amateur. I just point and click and whatnot. And I ever since getting into paranormal and stuff, and feeling just taking pictures, kind of just stuff that is of ruins or churches or cemeteries. And there's something, it's like, I think growing up always kind of was, no one never really told me, but it was just like, you don't really do that. And there's other things to take pictures of. You got to smile in every picture and everything like that. This is something where it's like, there is beauty in the macabre. There is beauty in death. And it's one of those things that I feel that, that when someone can capture that and be able to get out that emotion, there's something very beautiful about that. And I wish more people could understand that and see that as well. Yeah. Did I break you with that? Did I break you with that one?
I'm kind of speechless on that one. I just I've done a lot of galleries in my past, and started out. I used to live in Pittsburgh, and I used to go into those old, those abandoned steel factories.
Sure. Yeah.
Giant boneyard buildings that are just open. Well, they were back in the day, and so I used to go in and just take pictures of like broken windows and things like that. And I had an art teacher at the time that just loved it. He was all over it. And then he got me in a dark room, taught me how to develop my own film. Before I knew it, I was like the student photographer for all the games and was working for the paper, and how I fell into it. So
it's, yeah, no,
and by accident, actually.
Well, and I mean, there's something about that, especially I bet there's a lot of, I love taking pictures of buildings and stuff. I bet there's wonderful buildings everywhere, but especially Pittsburgh, there's especially a lot of, very blue collar sort of places to really, that's, that must have been great. Do you feel, and this is kind of going off subject a little bit, I feel like there's some of that, if you call it texture or whatever you want, that sort of like, real life sort of visuals. It's at least in Minneapolis, it's still there, but it's dried up a little bit. It feels like out here, we are tearing down a lot of these old buildings, making use. Sometimes we're lucky enough where they might turn them into condos or something, which is better than tearing them down. But it feels like that, we're making things pretty when sometimes things don't have to be pretty. They can just be as is, and it's a great reflection of life.
Yeah, that's very true. And a lot of places are tearing down a lot of their history because of that. I know when I lived in Nashville, that was a big thing. They're tearing down a lot of the old plantations and just older things. A lot of Music Row has disappeared. which, all the old studios and stuff. And it's just a shame because that's just a piece of history that everyone's lost, and there's a lot of factories around Nashville that they've torn down. My studio used to be in one of them. It was an old textile factory. Very neat building. It was there since the Victorian age. That recently got torn down. But I used to love that building. I had so many artists in that building just to do album covers and stuff for the country music people because they loved it. They loved the texture of all that old flooring and stuff that was in there. So
it's a shame, and it's weird because I also understand that you do have to tear things down to put new stuff up. That is the circle of life. I do appreciate that. I just sometimes it feels like that there's some mistakes made and that things are being torn down for the wrong reasons, and it's just like you said, it's a shame when it's done. I have a comment here. Being creative through painting, photography, writing is a very good way to express all kinds of emotion. Obviously I'm not going to ask you, do you agree with that? Because obviously you do. Obviously that, it's like, that's art 101. What about when you are doing the work for Spirit? Are you feeling the emotion that they want you to feel to be able to complete this, or is it as simple as a picture that you are transcribing to a canvas?
No, they are very emotional. That's why I don't do it very often. Because, oh goodness, there was a few of them where just the one that I gave you actually of that young person.
Yeah.
That was somebody's son that had passed away. I can't really say too much about that one. They were in Idaho, and the boy died in a car wreck. It was a one of those kind of freak accident kind of things. When I showed the final image of that, the woman started bawling, just absolute bawling, and I was crying. In fact, I'm tearing up talking about it. But that's kind of what happens, is that some of these images come out so deep and there's so many hits to them that the person will look at it and right away just start crying because they know exactly who the person is and the message that's conveyed. Usually it's the message that person's okay. It's okay to let them go, that sort of thing. But the emotions that come out in some of this artwork is unbelievable. There was one that I had about a year ago, and I actually taken a break with this one after I did this one. And it was a person's best friend who committed suicide. And what I saw was this young man with glasses, and I saw like he was a taxidermy or something. There was like a lot of animal heads around him. He was wearing a cloak. I specifically heard the word warlock, so I jotted that down. I saw military, just hit after hit. So I jotted everything down, drew this guy, gave it to her, and again, she started crying, and she knew right away who it was. So yeah, there's a lot of emotions behind it. And there's a lot of imagery too, like the taxidermy stuff, just little stuff that comes out. A lot of times I'll sit there and it's like I was doing a reading for somebody, and what came through was like a bird feeder. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to draw that. That's silly, because it was like a total different image. And then I heard, you need to draw it. So I put it in there thinking, okay, this is stupid. It has nothing to do with it. And sure enough, this person's mom, she had bird feeders all over her yard. She loved to feed the birds. And so it's just like little things that will just bring out the emotions.
And I was going to ask that if it ends up being like just a picture of a moment that you're drawing, or if it ends up being kind of a composition of a lot of things, because it's like any sort of reading that you get from any medium, sometimes they might just be throwing out random words, right? And that's kind of feels like that's kind of what this is a little bit.
Yes, exactly. So sometimes you'll get photos like the one I gave you, but even that has a lot of imagery in it. So these aren't going to be, like a Rembrandt that you put on your wall. These are going to be little pieces, bits and pieces is the only way I can describe it.
Yet I wonder, I wouldn't be surprised if someone were to put something like that on their wall, because if you're capturing everything about this person, and that they're immediately like, yes, 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 you got to think that they put it on a wall somewhere, relatives come in and they're just like, oh, you had someone commission to do a painting with all their favorite things, and you're like, no, this is what this medium painted without even us telling them about it.
Yeah, I've had quite a few people say that they framed it and put it on their desk. One person has it in their office where they work, and just to remind them of different things that they were going through.
I would think I think it's a beautiful reminder, 100%, that especially if it's a loved one who is now gone, and you're killing it in the sense of, I'm getting all this right. I mean, there's no better way to feel good that your loved one is in a good place, because a stranger knows all of this stuff that no one else would know. And that is truly that's beautiful. And what a service that is to them.
Well, I think too, that's what mediumship is really about.
Yeah.
You asked about the paranormal world earlier. The paranormal world was used for me to kind of wake me up to this ability, but now it's definitely gone into a different direction to where, it's really not about running around old buildings, and it's about helping people and help people healing and helping the spirit world heal as well. So there's a whole different level to it.
It is. And, I think the thing that is the most ironic part of it is that there really isn't a difference between paranormal and metaphysical. I mean, we're all trying to do the same thing at the end of the day. It's just how people go about it and do it, right, and everything else. And once again, before anyone's getting annoyed out there, there's nothing wrong with it, it's just an observation at the very least. I mean, because everyone, the best part of all was, at least back in the early days of me doing this, and paranormal teams didn't want to have a medium involved because they were unsure whether or not that, what their purpose would be or anything else. And it's like, at the end of the day, you're trying to reach out to spirits. That's what they do, is the mediums reach out to spirits. Why would there be any confusion of whether or not to have anybody with mediumship skills with them? But it is what it is, right? I mean,
I remember those days. Those were in the very early paranormal shows and stuff where they were kind of iffy about. I remember one show they came out and said, "Oh, we would never have a medium on there," and then they tried it. I can see their point a little bit, though. You don't want a medium going in there and completely leading the entire investigation either.
Yeah.
So there is that.
I do think there's one good thing. I mean, because I'm often kind of railing on some of these paranormal shows, but I do think there is one good thing that has come out of the paranormal television phenomenon, and that is the acceptance of mediums in general.
Yes.
And with, people like Amy Allen and others, and Cindy Kaza, and all these people who are showing us, showing the world stuff that we've already known for a long time. At the very least, give people an opportunity to understand that, hey, you know what, there is a good reason to include these people. But I don't know. I think it's come a long way, and it's a really interesting point too that you bring up about, the leading and stuff. And it's just always about teamwork, isn't it? And knowing what each of us are going to do on these things, right?
Right. Exactly.
It's incredible. Let's do this. I want to take another break here and get one more in. When we come back, let's talk more about the art, talk about some of the other things going on. Maybe let's talk a little bit about the Gateway podcast and everything else you have going on. And you have a lot of stuff going on. So let's talk about it. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information.
Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
What you wear is important. It should be fun, creative, and expressive of your own personality. At Grady Gear Company, we believe that clothing is more than just fabric and threads. It's a form of self-expression and a way to stand out from the crowd. Grady Gear is more than just a clothing brand. We're a community. We're here to inspire and motivate you to embrace your true self. We are a locally owned small business who do custom clothing orders too. Find us at GradyGearCompany.com.
Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Now, tomorrow we were supposed to have Refined Divine on to do one question readings, and she needed to cancel. So I decided that this is our last show of the week and of November, and we're going to start our Thanksgiving holiday a little bit sooner. But when we come back on Monday, December 2nd, I'm going to have on Rob Guttrow and Monique Toussoon, and we're going to be talking about their new book, Haunting of Emery State. This is going to be a great conversation and something we've been wanting to talk about for a while, just have been unable to, and that's going to be coming up here. We are talking with C.L. Thomas, amongst many things. C.L. Thomas is, as we've been talking about this hour, she is a spirit artist. We've also been talking about how she's an artist, and last time I had you on, we didn't really talk too much about the shows you do, in particular the Gateway, and you have it as Gateway Radio Show. I thought it's Gateway Podcast. What is the proper way of naming your show?
Well, it is a radio show, but I call it a podcast.
Okay.
So I don't know. I call it the Gateway Podcast, but it is a radio show.
So the Gateway Podcast, which is a radio show, that's the name of it. No.
Yes.
So I'd like you to tell listeners of what this show is about, because it's I mean, I'm not saying it's a good show only because I was on it last week. It's it's good even without me. But it doesn't hurt, I would say. So what made you decide to do this? What was like the purpose of putting this out?
So the Gateway Podcast is more about just spiritualism in the paranormal. So it doesn't really showcase the celebrities and TV people. It's more about the real stories out there, the people who were haunted, location owners. I dig a little deeper into the spiritual side of things. The questions are a lot deeper than your typical haunted location or TV show, I guess
Sure.
is what I'm trying to get at.
Sure. Now, with your books that you've written, were those inspirations for you to want to do the show? Because I mean, you're talking about like the real stories. You had real stories. You had real experiences. Was that an impetus for you to be like, you know what? I want to hear what other people have to say, even to the point of like, I'd like to know how other people dealt with maybe even similar situations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dancing with Demons is pretty much my story, what happened to me. You know, I grew up with the paranormal, but I wasn't afraid of it until much later in life with some stuff that happened. And I wanted to hear what other people, what their stories were, because you hear so much about the celebrity side of things. But you know, the people with the real stories, no, I shouldn't say that, but the people with their stories, you don't get to hear so much from. So,
No.
you know,
No.
that's what we want to hear from.
And I would agree with that. I mean, and there is a place for people to enjoy the shows, enjoy the celebrities, go to the paracons that have the celebrities. But as you and I have spoken, and I've spoken to other people about it, is like, you know, are we, as doing that, are we learning anything new in the field? And maybe some of these shows, and I mean like events and stuff, maybe that's not the purpose, is to learn something new. But I want to go somewhere, and I want to have like-minded conversations with people like you, because I too want to know, is the stuff I've experienced, is any of that translatable to what other people have experienced as well?
Exactly. And that's what I started Small Town Tales podcast 4 years ago with that same intent in mind. I wanted to get the stories of the people who were being interviewed for these TV shows, because you don't get to hear their story. All you hear about is, and there's nothing wrong with this. Please don't, I hope your audience don't think that,
Right.
I don't mean this in this light at all, but when you go to these paracons and watch the TV shows, you hear about the celebrity. You
Yes.
don't hear about the actual people who experience the haunting, and that's what the show was based on. The Gateway podcast, when I was asked to do that, she loved the idea of Small Town Tales. I didn't want to bring Small Town Tales over to the radio because I would have lost the rights to it. So I started the Gateway with the same intent, but with more of a spiritual tint to it, if that makes sense.
It does, and I mean, and yeah, I mean, I think, and I hope, I do hope our listeners understand exactly what you're talking about. Once again, if you wanna, if what you're really into is getting to, be able to follow your favorite celebrities and whatnot, you're more than welcome to do so. It's just that, please, it's like, please keep in mind that there, that number one, and this might make people angry. Number one, they don't, the para celebrities don't know everything. I've been on a lot, and I'm sure you have too, a lot of investigations where they've been a part of it, and everyone just waits to know what they're going to do, what piece of equipment they're going to bring out,
Yeah.
and it's like there, I get you're paying the money for it, 100%, but that there is a lot of great people, and I think one of the things I think about often, actually, is a friend of mine who lost her son at the age of 2, and she is, she's like, I'm on the list to get a reading from Teresa Caputo, and I'm really looking for it. It's like 2 to 3 years out, and I'm so sorry for your loss. I know this is so hard, but please know that there are actually mediums that are a lot more concise, and that you're going to get a lot more for a lot less money.
Absolutely.
That are local, that, I mean, I could name off, 25, 30 of them without even thinking. And, people get this idea in their mind that, they're on TV, they must be the very best. I'm not here to say if they're good or not. That's not my place to say it, but there are a lot of great alternatives and a lot of great, resources that aren't on the Travel Channel or are not on,
Absolutely.
So I'm with you 100%. And it does get tiring, because I think voices like yours in particular, and there's others, they don't get and it's not even, I don't even know if it's about recognition, but it's not being listened to. When you have
Right.
stuff that's important and interesting to say, that, and it might be, and if people want dark, read your book, there's darkness in there, but people, they want to hear it from, whomever that's
I
on.
want to hear from the celebrities.
They want to hear from, yes. It's
It's
too bad.
interesting too. A lot of people will come to me and ask, well, I want to learn how to be a medium. Who should I take classes from? And I never recommend the TV people. And you know why? It takes a lot of practice. You can't just take a class and then because people can get hurt. The bottom line is people can get hurt with this. And you don't want to be someone that will hurt somebody just because you're going to call yourself a medium from taking a class from somebody for 6 weeks, right? There's a lot of practice. There's a lot of group circles that go on. There's a lot of one-on-one with your teacher, which is important. This is where I'm getting at. You don't want to do a celebrity. They're not going to be able to give you that one-on-one time that you're going to need. You want to take it with somebody that knows what they're doing, that can give you that time.
Because I know a very good friend of mine, she teaches mediumship classes and all sorts of metaphysical energy classes, everything else. And you're right, it doesn't end after week 6. It's constant. And to be fair, I would suspect a number of the celebrity mediums, I'm sure they would love to be available for maybe more consultation. They literally cannot. They are too busy. That's the time that they've scheduled is too much. And and maybe some do, and I don't know, but I mean, it's almost like, in a sense too, like, a big thing in Minnesota, eat local, go and patron your local businesses and stuff. And to me, that's kind of the same thing. It's like, yeah, you can go and see your big name stars, and that's cool if that's what you want. But also remember that there is this local aspect to it, and these other people who are just as good, if not better. And I definitely put you in that, because you have so much to say and you have so many skills, and that you're accessible, and that people could talk to you. I don't know.
Thank you, Greg. That means a lot.
It's tough, isn't it? And I get this a lot, because I personally also want to, be able to speak more and be able to share experiences and stuff. And it's tough, as you and I have talked about. It's tough to get noticed. It's tough to get someone to want to do that and allow you in. And someone once said to me, when I was kind of complaining about it, it's like, well, then, you don't like it when other people are trying to get famous, but why are you doing it then? And it's like, I just want to be able to share. And and when we're in the position that you and I are in, and others, there's something that, that it's nice to be able to share out and be able to help people. And there are people who would really benefit from, I'm going to conclude myself, our experiences to it.
Right.
So, I don't know. I mean, I don't mean to turn this into what we're turning it into, but it's at the same time, though, I think it's always important for people to remember that there are that if you're truly into the paranormal and stuff, go dig deeper than the top layer, right? Because
Right.
there's a lot of great things in there. And start, for me personally, doing my show, and I think that you probably see the same way, I had no idea how many books had been written about all sorts of stuff in our field, which, you never hear about, you never see people talk about. And that's been one of the greatest things, is for me to be able to see what's been written and talk to them. I don't know how you feel about that.
Oh, absolutely. There are so many good books and just good work, and people who've done so much research in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And their voices are just not heard because they're not on one of the television shows. And it's unfortunate, because that's where the paranormal has ended up, is being saturated by these paranormal celebrity shows. It's dominated the Paracons, it's dominated just about everything. And people feel like to be part of the paranormal community or to learn anything, that they have to go to one of these TV people. They forget that there's this whole other layer of people who know just as much, or if not more, that has been able to donate, who's been able to develop their skills because they've put in the time, on that particular subject. And it's just something that's being missed out on a lot.
Absolutely. And I think a great example of great paranormal investigators who you had on today on your show.
Yeah, the horns.
The horns. They're amazing. How can people find your podcast?
So if you go to clthomas.org, both podcasts are on there. The Gateway is every Tuesday, 6:00 Pacific time. And Small Town Tales, I've kind of taken a break. It's been parked right now, but I'm going to bring that back the first day of the year.
And I'm on the page right now. I can see it, very easy to find. And definitely, folks, you got to check this out. This is really good. Are you working on, because we have about 20 seconds left, do you have any books or anything that you're working on?
I am working on a book that should be released by mid next year. And I do, I'm working on a magazine, EerieExpeditionsMagazine.com. That the next issue is what I'm working on right now. That should be out by next week.
Can you give that URL one more time for the magazine, please?
EerieExpeditionsMagazine.com.
We need to have you on and talk about that. I completely sidetracked that. So let's talk about that, okay?
Well, I didn't know if I was going to continue doing that or not because I had so much. Well, that's a story for another time. But.
Exactly. All right. We got to go. Thank you, everyone. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll talk Monday.